Oh, the other problem is I need that computer because
Hi.
the power.
October is almost over, but there's still so much to talk about that's super important for you and your family. As we all know from all the pink we're seeing everywhere, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But there are other topics we should be aware about as well. I'm Michael Hinman, the executive editor here at Herald Community Newspapers, and we've teamed up with the fine folks at AARP Long Island over the past few weeks to talk to you about everything from hearing loss to financial planning. And tonight is no different. October is many things, but it's also National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And trust me, this is one webinar that you won't want to miss. Over the next 60 minutes, we're going to have an interactive discussion on cybercrimes, identity theft, social media scams, anything that targets you and your family and wreaks havoc for your business. Tonight, we'll also hear from a pair of experts on how to protect your personal information on your smartphones and your computers and educate you on how to be more online savvy. Joining me here at the top of the webinar is our good friend, Bernard Macias. He's the Associate State Director of AARP Long Island. Good evening, Bernard. How are you doing?
Good evening and greetings, everyone. Again, thank you, Michael, for that introduction. On behalf of AARP New York, I want to welcome all of you to our very last webinar to this series called Health, Wealth, and Self. I serve close to 500,000 members right here in Nassau and Suffolk. AARP, we have 38 million members nationwide, 2.5 million members right here in New York State. And a little bit more about AARP, we're the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering Americans 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. We strengthen communities. We advocate for what matters most, with a very special focus on health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. So if you remember anything about AARP, do remember us with health, wealth, and self. And that's why we created this three-part webinar series. And if you've been joining us this month, you'll see, as Michael mentioned, October has a lot of different national awareness months to focus on. And we started our series on health, on protecting your hearing. And then last week we did, because October is also National Financial Planning Month, we did a webinar on wealth, protecting your money. And tonight, a very special presentation on protecting yourself from cybercrime, since October happens to be National Cyber Security Awareness Month. I want to remind everyone that on Saturday, October 29th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Noon, we have a free AARP shredding event. It's going to be held at the Clinton G. Martin Park in New Hyde Park Road, Marcus Avenue in New Hyde Park. And you can register with us. We do have a registration link, or you can just show up and we will register you on the spot. But I encourage everyone to register ahead of time, but if you prefer, you can register with us on the spot. But it's on Saturday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. It is an in-person shredding event. It's free. It's definitely one way for you, for all of us, to fight against identity thieves by shredding those personal and financial documents that you don't need anymore. And you're limited to 3 grocery bags per car, and we're going to be there until that truck fills up. So please come down, please fight back, and tonight you're going to learn much more on how to protect yourself from identity theft. So Mike, right back to you in the program. Really looking forward to tonight's presenters, our good friends from the United States Postal Inspection Service.
Thank you so much, Bernard. Always glad to partner up with you on this and to bring these great webinars to everybody out there. So here with us tonight is one of my favorite experts and guest speakers. He also looks forward to the day I can pronounce his name correctly. I don't know, we've done a few of these now, Michael, but Michael Del Giudice is here. He is the Postal Inspector Team Leader from the U.S. Postal Inspection Service headquarters. Also joining us is Joe Marcus. He's an expert in the cybercrime education field. Good evening, gentlemen, and we're very excited to hear what you have to share with us.
Thanks very much. We appreciate being here.
And go ahead and take it away. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. We're just getting the presentation out.
Oh yeah, sorry. All the technical fun stuff we have to go through.
There you go.
Look like it's up?
Yep.
Yep, we can all see it.
Perfect. So thank you guys for having us. Just a little bit of myself. Again, my name is Joe Marcus. I'm a federal agent with the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. I've been with the agency coming up on 13 years. I've been an agent almost 10 years. I've worked a variety of assignments and cases, primarily involving financial investigations, anything from, let's say, blood and crip gangs and financial crimes involving them, all the way to hedge funds. So I have a wide variety of different types of crimes and stuff that I've investigated and been responsible for. So I just wanted to come on here and give you guys some tips on how to combat fraud, identity theft. It actually is the most largest crime in the world right now, and it's ever evolving, which it's our job and responsibility to stay on top of it and learn the new trends and how people are victimizing consumers and stuff like that. So it's certainly an ever evolving thing. So I want to just give you guys the tools that you can have in your belt to try to avoid these scams and what you can do to avoid them. So just to get started combating fraud, the goals of the U.S. Postal Inspection Service are to protect, prevent, enforce, and prepare. So we want to protect the postal customers. That's our number one priority, and then prevent victimization in our cases and investigations. Obviously, we want to make sure that we give the consumers the tools that they need to avoid these types of scams that, again, like I said, are ever evolving. Enforce the law. We have almost 200 federal laws that we enforce across the country. And then prepare is to increase public awareness and educate consumers, just like we're doing here today. So identity theft. Sure, many people have heard of identity theft, but just to define it, it's often used to describe both the theft and subsequent use of the fraud. Involves a compromised acquisition without authorization of any portion of another person's, what we call PII. So a lot of times you'll hear compromises involving people's names, date of birth, social security numbers, things of that nature, account numbers, PINs, logins, usernames, passwords, that type of stuff. Identity fraud involves the use of information obtained from the theft of an identity. So basically, the crimes that are committed after the theft of identity are considered identity fraud. So what they do with the information from there. And who has your information? A lot of people. Almost every day you'll encounter someone who has access to your personal information. It includes not only the credit bureaus, but things like your doctor's offices, the DMV, obviously the IRS, things that you don't think about as much, like maybe like car dealerships, but they have access to all of your personal information. Now, how does ID theft really happen? There is no such thing as free lunch. And the one thing I want to point out on here is something that I guarantee most of you guys do without knowing. But if you ever see those like little boxes where you enter your card, it says free, win a free cruise or a free vacation to Aruba, things of that nature, and you fill out the information, what you don't realize is those things are lead list generators. So now that they know that you entered your information, you have interest in winning things, your personal information is going to be sold to several different entities in which you could potentially be scammed. And now you wind up on they call the sucker list. So basically, if you fall for one of these things once, your information is that more valuable because they're not going to sell your information to everybody else that could possibly victimize you. Seminar offers these, I've seen them with the timeshare, seminars and stuff like that. We'll give you free lunch or a free drink ticket. It's not free because what they're buying from you without you knowing is your personal information. There's different types of identity theft. There's financial, which could go through your credit card, bank accounts, insurance. People can obtain medical care using your health care coverage. Impersonation. So let's say I get pulled over and I've got warrants and I'm, trying to avoid, being arrested, I can pose as someone else if I have access to your full PII, your personally identifying information. I can have a fake ID with my picture, but it's got your information on it, and I'll be let go. So that's something else. People do commit identity theft with minors' information, children, people who are, obviously of underage who can't obtain lines of credit and things of that nature. It exists. For myself on the dark web marketplaces where I can purchase an entire Excel spreadsheet of newborn babies' personally identifying information, their names, date of births, addresses, social security numbers, and I could then use it to completely demolish a child's credit before they're even of age to obtain a credit card. So it's out there and it exists. Synthetic identities is the use of a social security number or other piece of information from one or multiple victims in order to combine them and create a whole man-made identity, essentially. So I can use information that's valid. So I can use one person's social security number but someone else's address, variations of their name, and be able to, essentially commit fraud in using their information without them knowing. Credit fraud is most common, the use of another person's credit or credit card information without authorization. We've seen that with skimmers at gas pumps and stuff like that. Just to touch on that real quick, if you ever use an ATM, my suggestion is always pull on the card slot. Give it a good pull. If it's loose or it comes off, absolutely do not use that ATM, and please notify someone, whether it's at the bank or 7-Eleven, notify a clerk, things of that nature. That most likely means that a skimmer is attached. With the skimmers too, it's a two-part. In order to get your credit card number or your debit card number, they need two things. They need the card number, which is attached to that skimming device where you dip the card in, and then you also need the PIN number. So to avoid them being able to get the PIN number, just simply cover up your hand when entering the digits on the keypad. That's a great way to try to minimize your exposure. Bank fraud, using stolen or false identities to open up bank accounts, cash some fake checks, money orders, things of that nature from an actual person's account. Loan fraud, you can apply, let's say, for a mortgage in someone else's name, purchase a home, a vehicle, anything of, certainly of value. Tax fraud, using someone else's information to file false tax returns and get tax refunds. So a lot of times we'll see this with abandoned houses and things of that nature where bad guys know as soon as that for sale sign goes up on the house and it doesn't look like the lights have been on, there's no movement, that they'll start sending checks there for unemployment and things of that nature as well. Insurance fraud is another thing, another hot topic. It's basically using the stolen information to file false insurance claims and steal a settlement or benefit payments of someone else. Just segueing into the dark web and cybercrime, this is extremely condensed, what I'm going to be doing or speaking upon, in this presentation. There's far more to this than, that I would love to go into, but obviously we're limited by time. But the dark web and the dark web marketplaces is an extremely complex network of individuals who, for the most part, people operating on there are operating in an illicit manner. They're conducting various crimes in which you can go on a dark web marketplace, you could purchase narcotics, I can purchase, like I said, spreadsheets of people's personally identifying information, your bank logins, I can get your username or your password for a bank, you name it, like we've seen it. You can purchase an organ on there on the dark web. Absolutely anything you could imagine, there's certainly someone operating in the shadows who's willing to sell it to you. So in cases like this, you can get someone who, with a calling service, reaching out to you, trying to get some information out of you in order to obtain additional information. So, you may get one of those hang-ups, those hang-up calls where a random number calls you and then they hang up, and you may not think anything of it, but what they're doing is they're testing your line to see if it's a good line, if someone answers the other end of the phone. Then the next call, you may get a call for something else where they're extracting just a little bit more information out of you until ultimately they have enough of a package to commit any types of this, previous frauds that I had just mentioned. So this is actually a screenshot from a dark web marketplace that I had only reached out. I entered it on yesterday, the 19th, just to see what was going on. Now this is a marketplace operating on the dark web. If you see here, it almost looks like a it looks like a fairly common website where you would enter information, but this is actually a search engine where I can purchase multiple people's identities. I can search by social security number. So like, let's say there's someone I know to see if all their information out there have their social security number. I can enter it right here where it says social security number. I can just purchase spreadsheets of information if I wanted to. I can narrow it down by, state. I can narrow it down by if they have only the telephone number and the email. I can get as much information on you as I possibly can, and it will match me up with a vendor who is selling these, these spreadsheets of information illicitly. Here's an example of a screenshot of what an order could be. So, for example, it's got someone's last name that's, they have it start out. It has their full address, their full phone number, but it doesn't have their email. It tells you exactly the questions that are asked, essentially on a credit application, and it only cost me $5 if I wanted to buy it. So your identity, your entire identity, is worth less than $5 on the dark web, which is very scary to think that your entire livelihood is worth that, and it could be operating and existing on websites like this. So just to give a couple of facts about, what's going on in the world in 2022 when it comes to cybersecurity. Cybercrime costs globally about $10.5 trillion in 2025, it's projected. And last year alone, it was $6 trillion. So you can see just how much that's going to go up exponentially, because these crimes are just so lucrative. And there's information absolutely everywhere. And what I'm going to touch upon later in this presentation is how you can try to take the steps to safeguard your information and make sure that it doesn't wind up on websites like I had just shown you. So phishing scams, you guys have heard of these before. The phishing scams are, just back. Phishing scams are basically trying to extract information from you. So you'll get, let's say, a spoofed email. It'll look like it's coming from Amazon and say, did you authorize the purchase for this MacBook Pro for $2,000? Click this link, if you didn't. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to lead you to believe that they're actually calling from Amazon or a representative of Amazon, and you're going to be giving information to them without you knowing that is going to be used later on against you to commit some sort of fraud, whatever the bad guy's prerogative is. But they may try. You've heard of like the IRS scams. That's also a phishing scam where they're getting your information. They get you comfortable to just fork over your personally identifiable information to do with it, as they please. So just be very careful. Always second guess it. If you have an email that you think looks funny, never click the link. If you get an email from Amazon, you believe it may be legitimate, don't call the phone number on the email. Open up Amazon's webpage, go down to help, get their email, their phone number or their email address, and correspond with them that way. It's always good to verify. Verifying is your best friend when it comes to avoiding any of these types of scams. Spotting identity theft, the best way to do it is to check your credit. So things obviously will show up on your credit report that you may not know has been there. If you see that there's a car loan in your name that for a vehicle you've never owned before, that's obviously, things of concern. Match your credit card receipts against your statements. I do it every month. I still get a paper statement every month because, one, I want to make sure what I'm paying is not automatically debited out of my account for things that I didn't charge. And two, it just simply reminds me to pay my credit card bill every month, getting the paper in the mail. And third, I work for the Postal Service, so it's generating revenue. But just verify what's on your credit card statement. If something doesn't look like it's not supposed to be there, call your credit card company and ask for additional details. Was it done online? Was it done in person? Things of that nature. And just so you know, you can get a free credit report from each of the three big agencies every single year for free. And I'm not sure if everyone knows that, but it's at your disposal. So why wouldn't you do it just to verify that things are not going on your credit report that should have been? Here's some more information on that. The three credit bureaus, major obviously are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. They all report things separately. So just because you don't see something on Experian doesn't mean that TransUnion didn't pick it up, and vice versa. So always check. You can use this website here, annualcreditreport.com. Always check all three bureaus just to make sure. If you do notice fraud on your account, place a fraud alert on your credit reports. You could order the copies of the reports, close accounts, change account numbers, change phone numbers, change email addresses, things of that nature. File local police reports. If it touched the mail, obviously call the postal inspectors. File complaints with the FTC. And the best way to do this is to just stay organized. Keep copies of absolutely everything, because I'm assuming that, you know, if a report is taken and someone is going to take a look at the case, they're going to need all of that information to go off of. So things to retain: solicitations, any emails, text messages, things of that nature, phone calls. If you thought something was fishy and you made a recording of the phone call, preserve it for law enforcement. Cancel checks, credit card and bank statements. You know, make note of date and times of discussions with someone. So let's say someone's trying to victimize you in a romance scam. Make sure that you can note dates and times that you made these phone calls, and, you know, the phone numbers that they called you from. All those things are certainly very valuable when it comes to investigating these crimes. Yeah, protect your social security number, shred sensitive documents. I know we touched upon this earlier. That's a great service that is at your guys' disposal, you know, hosted by these wonderful organizations to get rid of sensitive stuff. If you can't make it to one of these shred events, I would suggest purchasing a shredder for your home. Nothing fancy, just a cross shredder that, you know, you're not just throwing your mail out, your bills and stuff like that, that has your personally identifying information on it, you know, right in the garbage where it could blow away, or, you know, windy day, your garbage pail knocks over and now your credit card statement, you know, is laying, you know, in the street somewhere. Just shred it. Takes 10 seconds and it's worth the peace of mind. Share your financial data. Another thing I wanted to touch upon, which I don't think many people know, in my opinion, in my experience too, in working various types of financial frauds and identity theft cases, is that a lot of times the information could be compromised at a medical office, whether it's, let's say, an urgent care or your regular doctor's office. These forms always ask for your full social security number. You are absolutely under no obligation to put your full social security number on absolutely any form that the doctor's office requests. The only purpose of it is to make sure that you can be billed properly. Now, if your insurance card is already on file, they already have that information on the back end without you having to expose it and leaving it around. I've been in doctor's offices myself where I just signed in, I filled out the form, and sitting right next to the clipboard that I just handed into mine is someone else's information, and I can see their full social security number, their email address, their phone number. Everything I want, if I possibly wanted to commit identity theft using this person's information, is right at my disposal right here, which is extremely scary because it's out in the open. So do what you can to just minimize the risk of having your information out there. If you want, you can use all zeros, and if they really push you back, all they need is the last four to reference, you know, with cross-reference with your insurance company, so you can just give them the last four. Bitcoin extortion, I'm not sure how familiar some of you guys are with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is a single type of cryptocurrency. There's dozens and dozens of types of different cryptocurrencies, but there's something that's going on now they call the guilty conscience scam. So, for example, there was a website called Ashley Madison that essentially was enticing married men to meet, you know, essentially mistresses, and guys would sign up on the site using their real information. There was a data breach. Now, the breach from that information made it to the dark web. Now, the scammers started buying all the data from that data breach because they can now extort these guys and say, hey, listen, I know that you've been without going into details, they'll say, I know you've been keeping a secret from your wife, and I'm going to leak your deepest, darkest secret to all of your friends and family unless you send me, you know, $15,000 in Bitcoin to this address. And they even give you the instructions on how to purchase Bitcoin and send it to that address. So someone had sent, you know, me one of these cases, and I looked at it, and luckily, the Bitcoin addresses are public. They exist on a public ledger, so you can verify whether or not money made it in or out of that wallet. And the wallet that was provided to the victim, there was no money sent, thank God. So that means they're using, the only thing that can mean is they're using one-time use wallets in which that's how they keep track of which victim sends the money. But you got to be very careful, especially with these extortion scams. They're very generic in nature. They make people feel to believe like they've done something they hadn't supposed to, and that they're holding, you know, their secret ransom unless you send them money. Another thing that I see a lot of companies, banks and stuff are moving towards now, which I think is incredible, are called virtual card numbers. So whether you know it or not, many of the banking and financial institutions are offering what's called a virtual credit card number or virtual debit card number. So if you're shopping online, you don't have to put your real credit card number in. They'll give you a one-time use virtual credit card number that hides your true credit card or debit card number. And when it communicates with the merchant back to the bank to take the money out, they know which actual credit or debit card number it comes back to. So you never actually have to give out your real credit or debit card number. And I know that this is readily available on banks such as Capital One, Chase, and stuff like that. So reach out to your bank, and if you do a lot of online shopping, request a virtual card number. It's done right in the apps, and it generates for you, and then it just disappears, once it's used. So it's a great tool at your disposal. It's free. It's offered by the banks, and it's, again, another way of minimizing your information out there.
Joe, just to add on that for a second too, and I can't, agree more with what Joe said about those virtual credit cards, especially now that, the holiday times are coming. You're gonna be doing a lot of shopping for gifts and everything, and online retailers make it very easy to buy stuff. And of course, like, we're all shopping for the best price, the cheapest price available. Even from, like, on a personal note, like, I was looking for, a video game for one of my children, and I found the site that seemed to have these rare instances of games. And I was trying to figure out if it was a real site or not, but, unfortunately it turned out not to be one. But I did, exactly what Joe said. I used a virtual credit card from my credit card company, and it saved me a lot of headache because, I was able to, the great thing about virtual credit cards is you can use it and link it to a site to use all the time. You can set expiration dates on it. So basically this website was set up to be, a fake site just to get people's credit card information so that they could, use it and then exploit it. And, fortunately for me, I didn't lose anything because I used a virtual card. I was able to shut it down right away. I didn't have to cancel my credit cards or try and, get a new one reissued. So again, just from experience and, having it happen to me, just always be cognizant when you're shopping online. Obviously those large-scale retailers, Amazon, Bed Bath & Beyond, anything that's, name brand Macy's, any of these stores that are, legitimate stores. But when you start finding these websites that have, are very, like, suspect because they don't really exist, even though if they have, like I said, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So, just utilize that and always be cognizant, especially, again, with the, the holidays approaching and a lot of online shopping. There's going to be these websites that are popping up left and right, especially advertising the hottest, hardest products to get, at discounted prices, so that, you'll fall victim to it and give information that, they can use to either steal your identity or to take your credit cards and, make charges on them, which just creates a headache for you. So, thanks, Joe.
It's just adding another layer of security in between you and a potential bad guy. So it's never a bad thing. Fake bank phishing sites. So if you ever get a text message like this, always read it very carefully. So a lot of times too, there's something that's wrong with this one. It says recent unusual. There's a spelling error in here. That should be a red flag that something doesn't seem right here. Additionally, it's saying to unlock verified now, and it leads you to a website that's not at citibank.com or citibank.com/something. It's a URL that just looks completely unfamiliar. I would not click this. If you do suspect that something is up, again, do your own homework, do your own due diligence. Don't click the link. Go on citibank.com or open up your Citibank app and contact the bank directly and say, hey, listen, I received a funny message on my phone. Is there something wrong with my debit card? And they're going to tell you no. But again, just verify. Verifying is your best friend. Yes, so we just touched upon that. So this is what I wanted to get into. This is what I find. If you take away absolutely anything from this presentation, I hope it's this portion of it. I want you to look at these pictures and think to yourself, is there absolutely anything wrong with posting photos like this on social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things of that nature? In my opinion, in this world, in this day and age, everyone puts absolutely way too much information out there for no reason. Whether it's posting a photo of the salad you ate every single day for the world to see for whatever reason, if that's your thing, sharing families of your friends and family. You don't know what bad guys are doing or looking at this stuff. And these photos all seem seemingly innocent. These all look like photos that you've seen on your friends and family's Facebook before. Nothing about them is, this guy's social security number is not on his sweatshirt and things of that nature. But I want you to look at these things and really ask yourself, why could these pictures be problematic? I'll go back to it. Even something like this. Just got to Aruba, see you in a week. Posting a photo for your family. And then I put the photo of the guys from Home Alone in here because I'm trying to lead you in the direction of it. So something like this, common security challenge questions. You forget your password, it's going to ask you for common security challenge questions, right? Things like, you know, what is the name of the first beach you visit? What is the name of your favorite sports team? Well, you're constantly posting photos of yourself at a New York Islanders game. I'm going to put in Islanders. Questions like, you know, what is your one of the most common questions is, what is the name of your high school mascot? And you posted a photo of your son at the football game or at a baseball game, and he's wearing a Lone Peak Bears sweatshirt. I'm going to put in Bears, and I'll probably get that question right as well. What about this one here? Posing in front of Morris Street, and with the caption that something says along the lines like, you know, I'm back home or something like that. One of the most common security questions is, what is the name of the street you grew up on? And you just gave the bad guy that answer because you posted a photo of you standing in front of the street sign. Or what is your mother's maiden name is one of the most common ones as well. And you tagged a photo of her, Lillian Smith, at her 100th birthday. And now I know your mother's maiden name is Smith. And now I just got 3 of the security challenge questions that I needed to reset your online banking profile, redirect, you know, your account to an email address or phone number that I now control, and I'm going to completely deplete your accounts. And you gave me all the tools that I needed to do that because you put way too much out on the internet. So you got to be very careful with what you're posting on the internet. There's another one. People post vacation photos. Just got to Aruba, see you in a week. Now, I made this photo. This is a stock photo. This isn't an actual family's vacation photo. But people do this all the time. Now that I know that you're in Aruba for a week, you're not going to be home, I'm going to just crawl through your window and burglarize your entire house. You'll come home to absolutely nothing because you gave me the information I needed in order to commit my crime. Be very careful what you put out online. You know, even if you have your security settings, you know, locked down, the people that need to know these types of things, I'm sure you've already, you know, spoke to on the phone. There's really no reason to put it out in the cyber world because it's very scary what people can do with this information. So again, just be very hesitant on what you put out there. You know, I saw this too. This was a poll. This was an actual Instagram post. It said the last 4 of your phone number describes you. So then, you know, someone says, yeah, faithful, sweet, outspoken, and loving. I now know the last 4 of your phone number to put in for an SMS verification. It says, what's the last 4 of your phone number, you know, to verify, and I just got it because you put it out on Facebook by answering this poll. That makes absolutely no sense, but you just had to answer it because everyone else was answering it. But now I have an entire thread of everyone's last 4 of their phone numbers because you had to answer this. There's no point. You're exposing yourself to, you know, giving out more and more information without you knowing. Another common scheme segueing into is the grandparent scam. We're seeing a lot of this where, you know, an elderly victim is getting a call in the middle of the night, frantic, and they're talking very fast, throwing out little details here and there, posing as the grandchild, saying, hey, listen, I just went to Jamaica with my friend, you know, Bob, and, you know, we got into some trouble. Like, I need you to send me some money to get me out of jail. You know, they're asking for whatever, $1,000, $1,500. Can you wire it? You know, or mail cash somewhere. We've even seen it. And they'll say, don't tell mom, like, please, grandma, like, grandpa, like, keep it between us. Like, I don't want to get in trouble. And they'll convince you to keep it between them so they can get the payment. Best way to combat this is just call the parents and verify. Again, verifying is your best friend. We cannot stress that enough. Is verify the facts. But again, I've seen things like this where these scams were only made possible because people were putting too much out on Facebook. So, you know, when they say like, yeah, it's Jimmy and I'm you know, in Jamaica with Bob, grandma's or grandpa's gonna believe that because they know that Bob is Jimmy's, you know, best friend because he's always posting with him on Facebook and things of that nature. So you got to be very careful. People are collecting ammo to use against you to make stuff seem even more legitimate in order to, you know, to commit these crimes. But just hang up. Don't send any money, and make sure that you verify the information first. Phishing scams, just touching upon here. Again, I've seen things like this, these emails. The best way to combat these, one is to check for the spelling errors. If there's a spelling error in there, I can guarantee you that it's going to be a scam. And check the email headers. Up at the email, you'll see it looks like it comes from Netflix, but when you open the header, it's actually from, notification plus a bunch of random numbers and letters at pause massage the whatever the rest of it is .com. It's not from like help@netflix.com or billing@netflix.com. It'll make you click this this button here, update your payment information, and what they're going to do is collect your information. They're going to collect, your credit card numbers and stuff like that, and then you're going to find, charges you didn't authorize on that credit card or debit card because you gave it up in this phishing scam. Same thing with the Chase Bank one right here. It's almost identical, and you see the header, it's Chase Bank, but if you look closely, it's KDSYX-helpsupport.net. It's not, administrator@chase.com or billing@chase.com. It's an entirely fraudulent email that leads you to believe that it's coming from Chase. Another thing you could do is considering a credit freeze. They're fairly common. It's really not that difficult to do. You can reach out to the credit bureaus and request a credit freeze or a hold on your account. Anyone can do it. So basically what happens is it restricts access to your credit reports. So if someone's trying to open up a new line of credit, they can't because it's frozen. And what you need to do is, let's say your card is frozen, you go to purchase a new vehicle or get a mortgage or things of that nature, you can lift that gate, have it, that inquiry put through to be able to obtain the credit and then close it again. There's no cost associated with it, and it lasts until you remove it. But I would do it again. You have to make sure that you do it with all three bureaus because depending on which one that they're going through, you may have a freeze only on Experian and TransUnion, but they're able to squeeze something through on Equifax because you didn't put a credit freeze on there. So make sure that you put a freeze on all three bureaus. Very important. Yeah, fraud alerts. So if you're concerned about ID theft, it makes it a little bit harder for someone to open a new credit account in your name. It's free and lasts a year. It just makes it that much more difficult for someone to obtain anything in your name. And then there's credit monitoring services out there that you can pay for. Things like LifeLock, the various credit reporting agencies. I hear a few of them on the radio. Credit card monitoring services. And, in my opinion, that they're worth it because I can tell you identity theft and cleaning up this mess of various schemes is extremely difficult. It's very time consuming. It's stressful. Just imagine having to be on the phone, 4 or 5 hours a day for, several days, if not weeks, trying to get your money back. It's extremely time consuming, and it cuts into other things that you could be doing in your day. And it's almost like you get victimized again because you got to sit on hold and you get the runaround, the call drops, that type of deal. These credit monitoring services are fairly inexpensive and do that work for you. So I would certainly suggest them if you have a concern. Ensure mail delivery. So make sure that you're getting your mail. Sign up for things like informed delivery with the Postal Service so you have an idea of what's coming within the next day or two. You get an actual image of your mail piece when it's supposed to be coming. If it doesn't come that day, it certainly should be coming the next day or two. If it's something that's important, then call the post office and ask why it hasn't been delivered. Make sure that you're getting your mail. If you order a replacement credit card, make sure that you're getting it, that it doesn't wind up in the hands of someone who shouldn't have access to it. Using strong passwords is very important too. Change them. Don't ever use the same password for multiple platforms. If you have 5 email addresses, you should have 5 different passwords. If you have 4 different online banking profiles, you should have 4 different passwords for them. And don't interchange them. Keep a secured password-protected spreadsheet on your computer or have it printed out in a locked drawer in your safe or something like that. And change them regularly. That's the best way to defeat getting hacked because, like I said, if your personal information winds up as part of a data breach on the dark web somewhere and that username and password is part of that package, if you've since changed that password, it's useless to the bad guys. They can't log in with that information anymore because you've now changed it. So it's just another way to stay ahead of, the bad guys.
Yeah, just going into sorry, Joe. Just going back to the passwords, and like Joe said, sometimes we have so many different accounts and so many different passwords. You can write them down, or a lot of, either computers, or if you have your cell phone or you have like an iPhone or a Samsung phone, they'll have a like a password storage program that you can actually use. But it is definitely very important that you change your passwords, you change them regularly, because most usernames and passwords, your username for the most part is going to be one of your email addresses, and as soon as someone has that email address, that's it. Like, and if you use the same password for all your accounts, they're going to try all the common ones. They're going to try Facebook. They're going to try, your maybe an Amazon account. They're going to try a PayPal account. They're going to try all the different bank accounts. So you definitely want to make sure that for every user account that you have, that you use a different password. It could be some variation of that password, and it shouldn't be easy. And when we talk about strong passwords, we don't mean like your child's or your grandchild or whomever's name, or the dog's name, or the street that you live on. We mean like something that no one would be able to figure out. And this also goes back to what Joe was saying about, posting photos on Facebook and showing things like, what's your favorite sports team? So aside from, using that information to change your account or get into it because of, wrong password, they could actually use that to get into your account. So again, like, the change passwords regularly, and especially with, today, like we talked about, this is all about cybersecurity. There's so many data breaches. You hear in the news about the different, companies that get, someone breaks into their computer systems and steals all the information. I mean, I'm sure it was over the news. For those of you that, are local here in New York, there was a Suffolk County breach, where a bunch of data was stolen from Suffolk County. And, so that could contain, social security numbers. It depends on what information was taken. But at the end of the day, like, all that, individuals are looking for, cyber criminals, hackers are looking for, is they want money. And they're going to use any means that they can to get that money. They're going to make phone calls. They're going to try and break into your accounts. They're going to try and steal information. They're going to try and take that information and, ransom it to get money out of you. And that's what they want. That's the name of the game for them. So again, like, we can't stress enough, like, using strong passwords, a combination of letters and numbers and, strange symbols. But the longer the password is, the better off you are. Usually, like, a 15-character digit password is considered a strong password that has a capital letter, a lowercase letter, numbers, and also special symbols like a $sign or an exclamation point. So again, you want to use strong passwords, especially for if you're doing online banking, anything with your online credit cards. So again, we can't stress enough strong passwords, and changing them, regularly, like maybe every 3 months or something like that. I know we all get, complacent because there's so many different things you log into. You just want to make life easy and you want to log in. But again, at the end of the day, you're just protecting yourself, you're protecting your money, you're protecting your identity. So just something to think about.
Yeah, it's just a way to make it harder for them to get access to your information, just without leaving it on the table there. So that's a good point. Yeah, if you spot it, and we're going to just give you a couple of resources here. If you you do find yourself being a victim of identity theft, identitytheft.gov has a bunch of, information on it, a bunch of resources that can help you, obviously make police reports, things of that nature, so it can be investigated, and put an end to it. So obviously, too, like, if the bank is quick to give you your money back, you should still make a report, because if this is a pattern of, activity that's going on, I can certainly assure you that there's likely other victims, and you can put a stop to it if you make a report and the investigators are able to determine who's actually doing it and hold those people accountable, to sort of stop it and stop the bleeding. So you can, obviously be a big help trying to prevent, other people being victimized as well. More information on ID theft, on where you could possibly go. There's a bunch of guides out there that we can certainly share with you guys as well. And here's our information if you were looking to report any fraud or identity theft. Our phone number is there, our website is there, and then also the FTC. So anything obviously that's occurring online, and things of that nature, they'd be more than willing to take a report on it, and then, various law enforcement agencies can pull those reports, and conduct investigations. And also your local police department. A lot of times they're dealing with a lot of other things that they may not necessarily have the time or resources to work. Local police precincts, are dealing with anything from, simple thefts, robberies, assaults, homicides. They're dealing with it all, and may not have the resources to, at the time, or, whether it's staffing or the ability to investigate a lot of these larger scale cases that, we'll need to partner with them and work the cases together and stuff. But it doesn't hurt to just walk into your local police department, because if, like I said, someone is victimizing you, they may be victimizing someone else in your neighborhood. There may be a pattern. They may already be aware of it or who's doing it. So it never hurts to just walk into your local precinct and make a report. Our information again. And this is my contact information as well as Mike's contact information. If you ever have any questions, or you feel like you are a victim of one of these scams and are looking to get some guidance on it, that's what we're here for. We, again, I did just try to cram a lot of information into a very small and short presentation. I've had the privilege of coming back. This is my second time to do one of these. I do thank you guys for having us. It is part of what we do here. It's not just making arrests, investigating these crimes. It's also trying to prevent them. Like I said, it's one of the first things I said, is trying to prevent them and make sure that the average consumer has the tools that they need to make sure that they don't fall victim, and it doesn't get that far where, someone is investigating the case, stuff like that. But I do thank you guys for your time. I'll turn it back over to you guys real quick.
Or if there's any questions.
Excellent presentation. Thank you both. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, so much stuff, and and I'm so glad that we were able to hear a lot of that. So we do have a few questions, and some of these might repeat a little bit of what you've already talked about, but only because it's nice to sometimes reinforce it. I'm sure that there's never too many times that we can share some of this stuff, but this is one that somebody's asking, and my dad would probably have the same exact question, is that when you get a call from somebody like, say, the PBA, they're looking for donations for the Police Benevolent Association or anything like that. Is this a real call or is this a scam call? And how can we tell?
So, yeah, you have to be very careful with, one, I'm never giving credit card information or a donation over the phone, ever. I'm never giving my credit card information for a donation. What you do is you could just be a good listener. Take down the information. If it's something that you're absolutely interested in donating to the cause, then write down the name of the organization and then do your own homework. Go on Google, drop it in. See, there's websites that are publicly available that will show you very big, large organizations, how much they actually do donate to the cause and how much goes for salary and operations and stuff like that. And a lot of these big organizations that are out there that everyone donates to, you'd be surprised how much of it actually does go to the cause. But that's all publicly available information that can be verified online. So again, just take the information down and then just verify yourself.
And the other thing too is, ask them for their address. Oh, can I mail you a check? What can I do? And if they're reluctant to take a check and they keep pressing you for credit card information, then it's probably a scam. I mean, unfortunately, you're 100% right. Like, we see it, and just going on the PBA thing, and maybe this is a good time, Michael, too, to kind of just throw in there, like, sweepstakes or lottery scams. Like, we have seen an increase of, victims getting telephone calls saying, oh, you've won the lottery, you've won Publishers Clearinghouse, you're our winner, and essentially they just continue to target these people and basically befriend them, and try and get money out of them, solicit money out of them. And then once money is sent, then they say, oh, well, you need to send some more money because you have to pay the taxes on your winnings. You have to, please keep sending us money, and you're going to get your $1 million soon, or you're going to get, your $10 million soon. So, again, along the lines with these charities asking for donations, also, like, don't fall victim to the sweepstakes scams or the lottery scams where, you've won. Like, nothing is for free. It just goes back to it, right? Like, if you didn't enter into any sweepstakes, like, you didn't win it, they're not just going to call you out of the blue. And the problem is, like, these individuals that are trying to, get that, they're also, and it goes to the point of, it's very easy for them to make their phone number appear as if they are a bank or a like Publishers Clearinghouse or a sweepstakes or a lottery or the PBA or anything. So again, like you just want to be very cautious. Don't give any personal information out over the phone. Nobody's going to call you and solicit your credit card information over the phone. Nobody's going to call you from no legitimate entity, a bank or a foundation is going to call you, ask for your social security number, ask you for your date of birth, ask you for any of that information. So don't give it out over the phone. And as Joe said, like verify. It's very easy nowadays. The internet has made it very easy to search for these organizations and to verify their address and find out where they're, whether it's legitimate, whether they're soliciting for funds, whether they're having some sort of fund drive. And if you want to donate, their website will give you the information on where you can donate and how you can donate. And that's definitely the safest course,
Also,
these days, unfortunately.
You create a paper trail. If you absolutely feel inclined to make a donation, create a paper trail. Don't give your credit card number over the phone. Don't mail them cash. Create a paper trail. If you feel inclined, write a check in which, if you feel like after you mailed it, put a stop payment on the check. You're then creating a paper trail that allows investigators like ourselves to be able to follow up on it. But if they tell you, yeah, I need a $500 donation to the PBA, and they direct you to Walgreens to go buy an Amazon gift card to make the donation, one, on the surface, that should be a red flag in and of itself. But two, you're not going to be able to get that back because once they get the hold of those numbers, it's already depleted and it's very difficult to follow up on. So, just verify. Again, verifying is the easiest way. Just do your own homework.
No, absolutely. Speaking of my parents, at least, I'm sure this is with other people's parents as well, is what do we tell them when it comes to passwords? I know, my parents have a hard time just remembering their passwords, but I mean, should they be changing them monthly? Should they not be keeping it in a book right next to their computer? I mean, like, what should we tell them when it comes to passwords?
Make them complex and change them often. That's the bare foundation. Like Mike said before, good rule of thumb, every 3 months. And don't use the same password for multiple things. Don't have your Facebook password be the same login for your Capital One savings account. Things of that nature. So keep them spread out, keep them different, and change them often because if there's a breach somewhere, I can assure you, like Mike said before, if they get a hold of an email and a password, they're going to be trying it for absolutely every entity out there and see if it works. If I get if I buy a data breach from Target and I have your Target email address that you use to sign up and your password, and I'm the bad guy, you can assure that I'm trying it on Chase Bank, I'm trying it on Citibank, I'm trying it on Capital One, TD Bank, I'm trying it on Amazon, I'm trying it on Best Buy, I'm trying it absolutely anywhere where I can gain anything of financial value. And it's, you make it easier for them when it's the same password across the board. But, again, if my password gets hacked today and, next week I'm set to change it and 2 weeks from now my info is out on the dark web somewhere with that data, it's obsolete. It can't be used because I've already changed it.
Yeah, and again, I guess, look, it's kind of a conundrum, right? Because, you're writing it down, you're putting it on a piece of paper, you're storing it near your computer. I mean, listen, keep it where you would keep any secure documents. Like if you keep your deed or something like that, like if you're going to lock them up, then lock them up somewhere. I mean, a lot of desks nowadays you can have blocking drawers. So if you make your password file on a piece of paper and write it down, just lock it up or hide it somewhere. Or, a lot of newer, the web browsers these days, a lot of newer computers, they're trying to build enhanced security into the web browser so it will remember a password for you. It'll also help you generate a strong password. I know Apple devices, iPhones or iMac computers, they are very good at suggesting a password for you, which is very strong because it's just random letters, numbers, characters, and you can store those passwords. So yeah, if they're going to write it down, then, don't bring it with you, don't put it in your wallet, don't, do anything like that. Leave it at home, put it in a secure location at home, lock it away until you're going to need it. Again, with the elderly, it's a little bit more difficult, right? Because, unfortunately, as time goes on, like remembering, a strong, difficult password is probably hard. I mean, listen, I write some passwords down on a piece of paper and I keep it too. Like, I try to make them very complex, and, if you don't go in or use it very often, then, you need to put it somewhere. Or you can always try and change it if you forget it. I mean, that's always a nice feature too. But you will have to have, additional devices. Sorry, I don't know if I just dropped out.
No, I think we just
We hear you. We hear you,
yeah.
Mike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's technology. Not
Yeah.
like talking about how to protect ourselves with technology, I guess, but so very important. So we have as Bernard had mentioned, we have a shredding event coming up on October 29. And so in having those type of events, which allows you to take all of your sensitive material and to and to have where somebody won't be able to take it, should all of us at home purchase home shredders? Like, is that a good idea? Is that something we should be doing?
I would. I have one. I've told my friends and family to get one. I mean, you can get them, you can go to Walmart, and I think that they have a model that's like $25 or $30, and it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, if you throw out your credit card bill and, you have one of those nice windy nights and your pail gets knocked over or raccoons get into your garbage bag and start tearing it apart, and then your credit card statement's floating around somewhere, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Just drop it in the shredder, and then, make sure it's a cross shredder that shreds nice and fine. And then my suggestion would be mix it in with the rest of your garbage. Just don't throw out like full bags of shred. You can, but again, why would you make it easier for someone? Just make it more difficult. Just mix it in with the rest of your garbage. But for the $25, $30, the peace of mind, I absolutely would. You get these car offers, these solicitations that come unsolicited for credit increases, credit limit increases, and stuff like that. And you're just leaving it out on the table for someone if they really want to do their due diligence to steal some information on you. You're just making it that much harder for someone. In my opinion, it's not being paranoid, and it's just being careful.
So Joe, even the unsolicited, you're saying even the unsolicited credit card, open up a credit card, get a bank loan, all of that information, even shred that, because
absolutely. Yeah, I shred absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And why would Yeah, because what if someone catches that and sees that it's an application for a credit card or to increase the limit? If someone's already got their eye on me and my identity, and they know that my credit limit is X and they need it to be Y to purchase whatever they're looking to get, and now they just got a solicitation with my information on it and an offer code or things of that nature because I threw it out and they came and stole my garbage in the middle of the night. If someone really wants it, they're going to get it. Why would I leave that on the table when I could just throw in the shredder, and that shredder, like I said, only cost me $30 and works wonderfully.
Excellent. And since we're running out of time, one last quick question. And this is something when all of us got together a few months ago, and we were talking about cybersecurity, and I shared with our readers here at Herald Community Newspapers, personal story of my father getting scammed this way, where he lost about $10,000, I think. He understood it was a scam, but for some reason he was scared into still doing that. But so when we have, so we have parents living in other states, like my dad lives in Florida. So when we have parents living in other states, and we know they're getting these phone calls, and we do whatever we can to try, but what is the best way to kind of to help protect them from either getting these phone calls or better recognizing these phone calls, or at least to where they're not, getting strong-armed into, sending out their life savings?
So I can tell you firsthand, I've probably get I have two phones, between both phones I probably get, and I'm not exaggerating, 10, 15 scam calls a day. And with the new iOS, like the new operating system on my iPhone, it now tells me scam likely. So I know when I see a phone number that I don't recognize, I'm not even answering it anymore, because I know when it says scam likely. And again, those who are looking for me know where to find me. They're going to leave a voicemail. They're going to follow up with an email, a text message, thing of that nature. You'll know how to get in contact with me if you need to get in contact with me, as anyone else. So my best advice too is to just educate each other. So if you learn something here today, I think there's nothing wrong with you sharing that with your friends and family and be like, listen, I heard this, or I'm going to start doing this differently because I heard it on this webinar. And I always keep my friends and family up to date on the latest scam trends and things that I'm learning, because if I don't do that, I'm doing everyone a disservice, because these trends, like I said early on, are always evolving. They're always tweaking, to become something differently. So just educating each other. If there's something that or you learned or you saw on the news or you read in the newspaper somewhere, just let someone know. Like, just bring it up in casual conversation, because that knowledge that you're instilling on someone else could really save them a lot of money in the end.
So, and also just that one last thing, because you mentioned strong arming them. So again, one of the issues that we've seen, and maybe this could have been something that your father had experienced, is a lot of these scam artists, if they really want money from you, then they'll try to scare you, right? And how do they do that? Well, Google's a great thing, right? So if they know where you live, they know your phone number, they just type your address in Google Maps, and then they can see a picture of your house, and they can see something that may be relative to, a car parked in your driveway. Or sometimes they go as far as like even calling like pizza delivery and having a pizza delivered to you or something like that with like a note in it. But again, the one thing to remember is that all these people want is money. All they're going to do is all of these tactics to scare you into sending them money. They are in another country. They are thousands of miles away. They're not going to be able to do anything that is going to harm you, because they're just cold calling. And they try the nice guy routine first. You're your friend, you won the lottery, you've won a sweepstakes, God bless you, I'm a religious person, you're a religious person. Or they try to associate with you, like maybe by sharing an experience or eliciting information that would give them more, fuel basically for them to kind of get on your level and get that money from you. And then when you don't buy it, then they try, all right, well, the nice guy didn't work, let me try, scaring you into it. And then, 20, 30 minutes later, the next day, the pizza delivery guy's there, or they're sending something to your address, or again, they're going on Google Maps, or they're going on Bing or something, and they're showing, this information. You can go on these search engine sites too, by the way, and ask for your pictures of your home to be blurred out or removed. Like that is feasible if you go and you just go into the settings, or if you just do a search on how do you do it. But you can get your address, pictures of your home removed. You can get information removed. A lot of these credit card companies as well, like they're starting to get more and more, trying to help combat, the cyber crimes and cyber frauds, where they offer like, free programs where they'll search the dark web for your information and see if it's on there, and see if, alert you if it is out there. They will also, try and get your information removed from publicly available websites like, like Spokio or those things that, if you type in someone's name, you can get pretty much 27 addresses ago, their relatives, their date of birth, their, or at least the year they were born, their approximate age, that sort of stuff, which, again, and this is all information that companies buy just because, we filled out an application somewhere, or, someone is selling your information to a third-party data mining company. So it gets out there,
Michael,
but
I'm
again,
sorry. And who does that for you again? Cleaning up the dark web for you, or
some like it's offered as a service from some credit card companies. So you can
credit card companies. Okay.
Yeah, so credit card companies like I have one credit card in particular that does it. But they're starting to offer like a lot of these services because they know, because they're also taking a loss too, right? Because someone's stealing your information, they're stealing your credit card number. Like it's like, oh, I'm a victim. Well, they're a victim too, because they have to refund you the money. So again, it's just, and like Joe said, it's just education. Just educate them. Like, don't be scared. Someone's not going to come to your door. Someone, even though, yes, they delivered flowers to you with a note, they delivered pizza to you with a note, they sent stuff to you, they're not here. They're in a foreign country, and they just want your money. And if they have to scare you to do it, they're going to scare you to do it. And not only will they ask for cash, but like Joe said, they'll ask for, go get a Green Dot card, go get an Apple gift card, and then they want those numbers. And as soon as you give them that number, the money's gone. They've withdrawn it.
I wanted to ask you both, because you both talked about, protecting your Social Security number, which makes sense. But what about your driver's license? I mean, in a given day, I was asked for my driver's license 3 times. I walked in for a business meeting. They wanted to scan and use the picture. I walked into a dermatologist. They wanted to scan and take the picture. And then I had a hospital visit, and they wanted to scan my driver's license. Now, so I have to say, in all those three instances, I said, I'm not giving you my driver's license.
Right.
And they said, okay, we won't give it, you don't have to give it to us. So, what do you do in a situation like that? Or should you be protecting your driver's license as well?
You should be, because driver's licenses are used for your identity, when they try, to open up bank accounts or things like that. If your driver's license number gets out there, it's out there, and it can be used to also, open bank accounts, open lines of credit, because they will ask for that driver's license number, and then they'll run it. And when they see it's a valid, number, and it goes back to your address, but it could be someone using a fake ID with a different picture. So yes, you should protect that as well. It's not as common as the Social Security, because really, unfortunately, our lives are attached to our Social Security number. But it can be used, to verify you and be correct. I mean, there was an instance where someone tried to open up bank accounts, and they had valid driver's license number with, the correct driver's license number, probably on a fake ID with a, fake picture, like same name and everything else, and they were able just to present it, right, to open up a bank account. So you should protect it. And listen, you can offer some other form of ID if they want. I guess driver's license is just the easy thing to ask for, right? Oh, can I take a look? Or something like that, because again, it has your information, it tells your age, it tells your date of birth, it verifies who you are. But yes, you should also protect that as much as you can. And there should be no instance, again, except for banks that need that to verify you actually are who you say you are for, legal reasons. But other than that, yeah, it's just any of your information, it's just too easy to get out there. And even your phone number you should protect, right? Because the phone numbers are used a lot, your cell phone numbers or stuff, again, to verify your bank account, right? Oh, here's my, I'm calling from this number. And then if you call, a bank and they know what your number is, oh, you're calling from this phone number, and they put you right through it, right? Did you ever, notice that when you call a bank, and it recognizes your phone number, it's sending them, right to a representative, your account, you may have to verify one or two things, but, if the scam artist has that, it's very easy. So the digital world has made it very difficult to kind of keep yourself anonymous and protect your information. I'm sorry, Joe, I think you want to say something.
Yeah, no, all they care about is getting paid. So when the doctor's offices, again, it all came down to is billing and getting paid. But there's a million other ways that they can verify that, you are who you are who walked into the doctor's office, and they're still going to get paid. They're still going to bill your insurance company whether you refuse it or not. In one instance, recently I had a doctor's office that wanted to take my photo on an iPad that was in the office to maintain a customer profile for me. And I said, absolutely not. And she couldn't understand why. And she's like, you're the first person that's ever, denied us being able to do that. So I don't understand what you need it for. It's so we know who you are. I'm like, I'm here right now. This is who I am. You don't need to maintain a profile for me. I'm not going to make it uncomfortable, but you're not taking my photo. There's absolutely no need for it. You have my insurance information. You know where to bill me. And when I'm here, you'll remember my face. You don't need to, there's nothing that you need to go back and reference, that can't be done. That would have not been done 40 years ago, 50 years ago, where we didn't have iPads and stuff like that. So,
Right. I mean, so it really
safe.
comes down to being as resilient as possible, because to your point, Joe, if there's a data breach at that doctor's office, now they have all your information along with a picture of your.
It's your information, safeguarded. You're not being rude by denying them your information. It's your information. They're still going to bill, like I said, they're still going to bill your insurance company. They don't need to have photos of you and whatnot. If they want to, you're walking into a public space. If they want to, they could pull the cameras from the lobby, if you were sitting in the waiting room. There's a million and one other ways. It's just not that important, and they're going to press you for it. But again, it's your information that you're safeguarding. So just keep it safe and, challenge it wherever you can. If you feel like something's unnecessary or you're uncomfortable with something, just challenge it. It's not, it's not the end of the world. If they refuse your services,
I think
then be leery.
In instances like that too, one thing to remember, I think in doctor's offices and stuff like that, it's an innocent request, right? It's not because they're trying to steal your information or anything like that. It is just we could give a better customer experience, because that's what the world is driven by now, customer experience, right? Banks, credit card companies, they all want the better customer experience. So they kind of, try and relax the rules and ask for more information or do those things just because they're trying to give the customer the best experience possible. But Joe is right. I mean, the biggest problem you have there is you have in doctor's offices, they have a lot of your personal information. They have your medical records, they have your social security number, your date of birth, they have, everything. They have your family history, they have your, your children's names, your wife's name, your spouse's name, or your significant other's name. So, again, and if their office has a data breach, or they have someone that works in their office that, maybe like they leave on bad terms and they steal information, now, they have all of this information. So, less is more. I mean, look, we get it, right? Like, there's certain information that you need to provide, and, unfortunately, I guess way back when, Social Security number was the best way to, like, tie an individual to, an identity, right? But, and it wasn't such a problem. I remember back in the day when I was going to college, like, our Social Security number was our ID number, and it was posted for everyone to see, like, the entire Social Security number. So it wasn't even like, they were protecting, the last few digits or, most of the thing. But, again, in today's world, it's all these criminals, they're looking for the easy way to get money. And, unfortunately, they can be hundreds of miles, thousands of miles away and be able to, like, commit fraud and get your money.
Thank you both. Great presentation. Well, we're going to have you back another time. Lots of great information for everyone. I hope everyone learned a lot today, and share it, because, knowledge is power. When we talk about the grandparent scam, one of the best ways to protect your parents out there, have conversations with them, let them know about this type of scam, make it kitchen table talk, let your grandchildren have a conversation with their grandparents. They have to get to know each other so that they know when something like this happens, that, they're not caught for surprises. Because I think sometimes that's what happens, is too often the families aren't talking to each other and sharing this kind of information.
And just one more thing to add on that, you just reminded me, is also when you are talking about that, you sometimes they feel shame if they've become a victim to that. So, like, one of the things you want to do is let them know that it's okay. Like, it happens. It could happen to anyone. It's nothing to be ashamed of, or, don't get angry or anything like that. Because, again, that's part of the problem, right? Then they're going to hide it. So if you let them know that, listen, like, it happens, it's okay, we just want to prevent it from happening again, and we want to help you, and we want to try and, get you to see and understand that this is a scam and you're being scammed, and there is no, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's basically, you've been scammed, you've been duped, and we get it, but, you don't want to get angry. You don't want to, like, make them feel ashamed of what they did, because then that just, they're going to hide it, and then they're going to continue to do the behavior, and they're not going to stop, and they're not going to listen to you with, open ears. So, just one of those things, if you do have those discussions, to make sure, like, it's okay. And then, try not to do it again, and move forward and try to protect them that way.
Excellent. Well, and thank you both so much. So Michael Del GDJ and Joe Marcus from the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, really, really great to have you on here. And Bernard Macias, of course, AARP Long Island, always great. And just one last reminder on this, on Saturday, October 29th, from 10 a.m. to noon, it's at Clinton G. Martin Park. That's in New Hyde Park, and it's a free shredding event. So, register, go to events.aarp.org/free shred 1022. So FREE shred and then 1022. So it's events.aarp.org/free shred 1022. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, Michael.
You.
And
Thanks
real
for having
quick,
us.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Oh, good. I just wanted to also let everyone know to connect with AARP Long Island at aarp.org/local to learn more about webinars like this, classes, upcoming events. We have lots of volunteer opportunities for all of you. And you can also look us up on Facebook at facebook.com/AARP Long Island. Have a great evening, everyone.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right.